Usually we turn off the video when it's
Recording is on.
Hello and welcome to the DXDAO Monday, 21st of June, 2021, DXDAO Business Call. On the call today, first we have new member introductions. I don't know if there are any, Melanie. We're going to continue with two project presentations. One is Julia from Orca Protocol, and the other one is Reese from Commonwealth. Or Reese, I'm not sure if there's anyone else here with you. And yeah, we'll go through, we'll see how much time we have, but we'll go through with the DXDAO Business Squad opportunities. So yeah, there's some issues with like the work token. DXbiz discussions, talking about like DX stock creation, DX bounties, which DX Squad has started like brainstorming. And a question about DXDAOs based on Polygon. We'll talk, if we have time, briefly about ECC and the status, and maybe product ideas for Omen. So that's kind of the agenda. And Melanie, do we have anyone new? Like that's...
Yeah. Hey, everyone. We don't have any new member introductions today, I believe, but looks like we have quite a few guests presenting, so welcome to everyone that's joining us.
Yeah, awesome. So I think maybe we can get started with Julia from Orca.
Awesome.
Yeah, I guess take it away, Julia.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's super nice to, I guess, sort of meet everyone. Elon and I had an amazing call last week, and we've sort of chatted over the last, I guess, kind of few months. I was originally introduced to Elon through Lego DAO. But just to provide a little bit more color on what I'm working on and how I'm involved, I am the co-founder of Orca Protocol, which is a flexible and adaptable DAO implementation. The kind of like 2-second summary we say for Orca is that we are building sort of a multi-sig with conditional memberships. So basically what that means is that the key part of our architecture are pods, and you can kind of think of pods as mini DAOs. So they're small working groups to build governance around people based on their expertise, and then sort of like from there, these pods can interact with any existing project governance frameworks. I think, you know, it's pretty standard that we're seeing multi-sigs becoming like the most basic primitive in governance. I think a big reason for that is that we're seeing a massive shift away from these end-to-end solutions, like, for example, Aragon, where I think a lot of organizations have become frustrated with sort of the overly robust, overly prescriptive kind of like tooling that instead of the tools kind of matching the needs of organizations instead have to sort of meet the structure of the tools, which unfortunately I don't think is the right approach. And I think that we're increasingly seeing a lot of projects wanting to, you know, create and connect tools in a much more innovative way, in ways that work specifically for their organization. So that's really a key part of what we're doing at Orca, is how can we build very unopinionated and flexible modular structures so that organizations can basically build their sort of organizational scheme in a way that meets their needs. I guess to speak a little bit more specifically about the pods, there's sort of two aspects to the pods. There's the rule-making abilities and action-making abilities. So the rule-making abilities are basically custom rules that can be set by the pod or delegated to another pod or governance system. And those are basically designed to create incentive alignments, to allow for different like checks and balance systems within an organization. And we see this as like a much more modular approach than to how multi-sigs are currently functioning. The analogy we kind of like to use is that traditional multi-sigs are like a lock and key to your house. And in order to change the key, you have to change the entire lock system. And it's a very hard-coded, kind of difficult process. Whereas what we're building is more of a key card system. So your programmed key card is your pod membership NFT. And sort of the business logic on the back end of the door, which decides whether to let you in or not, are those pod member requirements. And those could be holding certain assets, performing certain on-chain actions, being a member of just like a whitelist if that group is already established. But sort of the idea is that in these organizations, like DXDAO, who is extremely decentralized, you basically can start to carve out these smaller working groups that are delegated specific roles and responsibilities within the organization. But you can still sort of have this checks and balance system where this small working group of people is still held accountable via certain rules and requirements that they must meet in order to maintain their membership in the pod. So that is like a very high level overview of sort of what we're working on. But I think there is a lot of opportunity for DXDAO to use Orca, especially as you start to look to build out some of the more basic organizational infrastructure that I think DXDAO has identified as something that you guys are in need of. And yeah, we're excited for you guys to experiment and refine your organizational structure through pods. So thank you.
Thanks, Julia. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, that's super cool. Is there a way to have like the main? So I assume there's a main pod, which is like the end all like decider, like above the smaller pods, maybe. But is there a way for the main pod to be a like DXDAO as it exists itself? Because we are using multi-sigs and we have squads and fractalization and pods make a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, like the big decision maker with all the funds that will feed the pods and stuff is DXDAO as it exists. Is there a way to include that as like the head pod?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely ways for you to make sort of like hierarchical structures. So the way you can sort of do that is you can assign, there is the opportunity for pods to have owners. So basically, like the main DXDAO pod could have ownership of sub-pods. And basically what ownership means is that they would not need consensus from the pod to create any new rules within the pod. So the main sort of like vehicle for control are the rule-making abilities of the pod. You can also delegate those rule-making abilities. So, let's say that you wanted a committee to be elected by the community. You could actually delegate the rule-making abilities of the pod to like Compound Governor Bravo contract, which is basically just the basic contract that creates proposals and votes for the entire community. So it's extremely flexible in that sense, and that the short answer is yes, you could absolutely have DXDAO kind of be like the main owner of these subpods while still giving them some more autonomous control.
Yeah, I think like one way I kind of, sorry, Sky, did you want to like continue off of that?
No. That's super helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, so I think I see like one kind of like simple or like MVP implementation is that I think we discussed in the past, in the past, if you have like Omen squad, right now it could be like a multi-sig, but it doesn't really have permissions. And with this kind of system, we can have we can have the Omen pod, get delegated like the ability to update the ENS content hash, right? And then the ENS squad, DXDAO will still be owning the ENS, but it will give the ability for the pod the ability to update it and kind of like create maybe smaller iterations. So that's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like a small experiment we can do. And then the other thing is, DXDAO, like the DAO itself, could give these pods budgeting and whether it's marketing or communications, and then there's a certain budget. And I think we talked about in the past, each sort of like sub DAO or squad will have KPIs, and they will need to execute on their KPIs and get budget for it. There's a couple of people who work for the pod and get paid by it. And I think this is like in a long-term kind of vision, I see like this is how the DXDAO will be able to scale. And
yeah,
I mean, we're already using multi-sig, so this is kind of like empowered multi-sigs in a way.
Exactly. That's exactly how we think of it. And like, even just from like a basic how people organize, like when you think about company scaling, like there's sort of this path that like when you look at legacy corporations, like the larger these corporations get, the more kind of like clunky and inefficient they can become. So that's like a really key part of how we think about growth and scalability, is like you need these smaller, more agile working groups in order to have like more effective human coordination. And I think budgeting and incentive alignment is a huge part of that. And I think, like you said, that's the big part, is that you can actually delegate, certain budgets and sort of give them full control over how they want to use those funds, while still having like some kind of checks and balance system to make sure that you're not like empowering bad actors within your organization, and that people are still acting in good faith on behalf of the larger organization. I think also like incentive alignment is something that's growing quite a bit in like the DAO narrative, is how can we actually compensate people for their contributions? And it's a very difficult thing to do when you have like this massive ecosystem of contributors. But when you start to sort of carve out specific roles and responsibilities, or, seats on a specific committee, I think that becomes a lot more clear in how people are compensated.
I had a question. Hi. So this sounds really interesting. Would it also be possible, like there's certain things like the Omen ENS or something like that, I could see that being kind of like a closed circle multi-sig function, or some sort of like small governance with like the specialist that the DAO delegates to that space. But then sometimes say we do like quarterly funding, which is something that DXDAO is trying to move forward with on some of our like broader projects, like marketing, for example, or something else. Would it be possible to also have, like, I know you're saying multi-sig, but is there anything there parameters wise where we could pull in some sort of governance element where maybe anyone wants to put a proposal up saying, hey, I want to use part of the, pod for marketing's budget for this idea I have, or something like that. So it still kind of has this like openness to it? Or is it really more like the traditional multi-sig approach, and they would need to go through maybe our like broader on-chain proposal system?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say they would have to go through more of like the broader proposal system. The way we sort of see Orca functioning, and particularly like our UI, is more of an approvals mechanism. So we see, like, part of our thesis is that a lot of this coordination and decision making is happening via soft coordination tools. So Discord, Telegram, governance forums, calls like this. So the way we sort of see decision making happening on Orca is that it's really just kind of like the last step for something to be approved and then executed on. Very similarly to sort of like GitHub approvals, is that a lot of that work has already been completed. We just need to validate that we have the necessary amount of approvals for this to be implemented. So I would say that would happen more within like community level governance. But I definitely think there's like paths in the future to, have the opportunity for community contributors to maybe like petition something to, for example, the marketing pod.
Like from an architecture point of view, you could have, let's say, there's the marketing pod, and then one of the members of the marketing pod is another contract that anyone, let's say if you have, maybe it's completely open, but maybe if you hold DXT tokens, you can make a proposal through that contract into the multi-sig, right? So that's kind of like a structure that could work for something like that, to have it completely open.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
But Elon, the examples you're talking about are like the teams like of DXDAO contributors that are like building stuff around, like with Omen Guild, right? So Omen Guild is supposed to be this open ecosystem where if you have Omen token, you're going to be able to govern Omen product, right? So these are actual liquid tokens that people are going to have and earn and be able to buy. And those are going to be the governors of the Omen Guild, right? So how do you use this system for 1,000 Omen token holders?
I mean, I think Julie said you can plug in essentially like for that you can plug in the compound governance module, for example, and then anyone could vote and anyone could participate if they have a token, right?
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this would be built on. Sorry,
also
for our
sorry,
DX vote would still, I think, kind of go hand in hand with this. I think, right?
Yeah, and DX vote is.
Yeah.
Can we check out? I was trying to look for docs or whatever is kind of already exists. Where should I be looking?
In terms of public documentation of Orca?
Yeah, or GitHub or whatever you got.
Yeah, I can send that.
Awesome. And I think, Julie, you said like there's like a plan to collaborate with Radical, right, as well?
Yeah, so we've been talking with Abby Titcomb quite a bit, and I think there's a lot of exciting concepts with Radical and sort of having like developer pods. I think, it's still very much in like early phases, but Radical is releasing sort of some new products on the horizon that I think function really well with sort of the Orca pod concept. So it's definitely something that we're excited to work on and potentially integrate in the future.
Yeah, and as a heads up, we're actually meeting with Abby and team tomorrow to talk a little bit more about using Radical organizations for DXDAO.
Okay.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to using Radical like in a more serious way. We have like a lot of the repos are on Radical now, but because like the DAO can't like own a GitHub account, right? Like the way it works now is basically DXDAO repositories are like spread out over different GitHub repos and which is fine, but like it would be nice if the DAO itself could actually own one someday. So yeah, we're looking forward to using Radical.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's like exactly what Abby and I've been talking about is like, that's a huge pain point, and that, you don't actually own that code, and that you're still operating through a centralized kind of medium in order for this extremely decentralized organization to actually function and ship code. So yeah, I'm happy to jump on that call too. So Abby and I can talk more specifically about what we've been thinking with developer pods, which is definitely being built via the Radical orgs concept.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be totally fun to join. We're talking about it in the Keybase. I'm sure you could like coordinate with Nylon on how to get in there.
Yeah. And then I got like one last question, Julie, about like the timelines. And when do you think, when could we start playing with it?
Yeah, so we are probably like over 95% feature complete in terms of smart contracts. right now we're just focused on connecting and building out our front end. So as I mentioned, the front end is very focused on being like an approvals mechanism. We sort of joke we want it to be like the Tinder of approvals. Like it should be so easy for you to, swipe right, swipe left to make sure that you're staying on top of the approvals you need to, which is not something we have the flexibility with traditional multi-sigs right now. So we think that we'll probably have something on testnet, hopefully sometime in August, that people can start playing with.
Nice. So I think, I don't know. I think DXDAO was like a super like early adopters kind of thing. So would love to experiment with this even on testnet.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We would love to have you guys beta test and potentially try out at least a few use cases within the DXDAO ecosystem.
All right. So I think, the next steps is, I can get you added to to our Keybase, which is like a sort of like a team Keybase. And another thing we can do is to open like an Orca DXDAO Telegram group where we can continue the conversation further.
Perfect. So, yeah. Awesome. Does anyone have any other questions?
I think Geronimo was asking about content module.
Yeah, sorry guys, I've been late to the call. So I'm not sure what pods exactly are, so I'm probably just gonna rewatch the call later on. But for now, you guys are just like providing a governance module for Compound. Did I understand it correctly?
No, so we are more like sort of the 1-2 second pitch on it is multi-sig with conditional membership. So we're basically creating like a lightweight permissions and governance wrapper around a multi-sig.
Awesome, thank you. I will watch the call later.
Okay, great.
I've got one question, short. We are working on an IDO platform where project raise capital. And one direction we are thinking is that maybe we should extend it to like that you don't only raise capital, but you also get like governance system at the end of the raise, that you have like that you can govern the money you got for your project. Do you see any potential in this, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's when you think about the long-term roadmap, that's definitely a really exciting opportunity. Is just like the DAO spin-up aspect of this, that it should be a lot easier to spin up DAOs without having to do massive strategy and working on how exactly you want your organization to look like. So we see like pods as a great first step for young organizations. We've talked about the concept of working with hackathons and like basically empowering every hackathon project with a pod, and the ability to have like this really, really basic governance structure for that collective collaboration. So I would say yes, I definitely do see a lot of potential with something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Awesome. So we can open like an Orca DXDAO Telegram group, and I'll send the link in the BizDev chat if anyone wants to join.
Awesome.
Sorry.
Thank you guys so much.
Had to cough. Sorry. And yeah, we can maybe get you on the Keybase as well.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for the time, Julia, and excited to see this kind of like formulating. I think that next up.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah. I think next up we have Commonwealth, and I think we have Reese from Commonwealth. I don't know if anyone else. But yeah, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, sure. Exciting stuff going on at Orca. Sorry, my cat's stacking my computer right now. So yeah, I think we have our senior engineer will be joining us momentarily, actually, to answer some of the technical questions that you guys may have. And then I think we were also mentioned George will be joining, but he had a call at 4:30 a.m. his time. So he may be out of commission right now. So it looks like it'll just be me and Zach, which will be great. So I'll just pop the link in the chat here for so everybody can follow along with the on the Commonwealth website. Just check it out. And for everybody,
you can also share your screen, by the way.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yeah. Good to know. And for everybody following along on YouTube, it's commonwealth.im is our website. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Cool. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Alrighty, so this is the Commonwealth platform. For background. Our parent company is Commonwealth Labs, and their first project was back in 2018, launching Edgeware on the Polkadot blockchain. This Commonwealth protocol here that you see was actually a governance platform built for Edgeware specifically. And then once all of the other Substrate and Polkadot projects, I guess, caught wind of this platform, they really wanted to get involved and have their projects be on this platform as well. So it started to grow from there, and then we after we got kind of a foothold in the Substrate Polkadot ecosystem, a lot of our Ethereum friends wanted to hop onto. So yeah, we're actually pre-launch right now, so we're onboarding a bunch of projects. It's pretty hectic. I know Zach definitely has his hands full with that. But yeah, we'll just hop into one of our two most active forums right now, obviously the Edgeware platform and Hydra DX, which is another Substrate project. So yeah, this is what the main forum looks like for any of the projects on. So obviously at the top here, there's the pinned project, or the pinned forum, sorry. So DXDAO, I guess, for one of them, their pinned post could be the manifesto, for example, and then an easy link to the community calls that everybody has. And then going down here, you can see all of the discussions. It's kind of a Reddit based setup for governance. So yeah, you can see a lot of really in-depth conversations going on here in comparison to discourse. And then what's also great about this is we can go and say Rich is definitely participating a lot in this discussion, and we might want to see what his background is, what his positions are on other things, and what he's looking to get out of the Edgeware project here. So you can obviously see here that he's a very active member within the community. This transparency here would be good, for example, if Rich posted a proposal asking for money, and we go into his profile and we see that it's his first day on here. So really gives really good insight to the community members here on what decisions they want to make in terms of governance and things like that. So I think everybody's noticed here the sidebar here. So this can obviously be customized to any of the DXDAOs or projects governance processes that they have. So we're going into proposals here. Now this stuff is all, governance processes are all stored on chain, which is a common question that we have. So the perk of having all of these proposals here tied into this discussions forums, if we go into one of the proposals that was finished not too long ago, we can see here that there's links to discussions being facilitated by this proposal. Going down through here, obviously Dylan and Rich and Tom kind of participating in this. And then moving on to actually voting for the proposals, we can see it's very easy to delegate votes to counselors and whatnot, and then be able to see how much they hold, and then obviously going into their profiles and seeing what they're like. So helpful stuff there. And then obviously down here we have notifications. You can keep email and SMS notifications as well. And on the top right, you can see here that I'm logged in as an anonymous user right now. You can choose to be anonymous, or obviously put your contact information down. And yeah, as the forum UI and UX itself, it can definitely be customized to the branding of DXDAO or any of the projects that DXDAO is running, as well as a custom domain URL. So dxdao.governance or something like that, as well as Swapper and Omen can also get their own forums as well, tied back to their governance tokens, like the Omen token I think was previously talked about. So I think it covers a lot of the main things. Yeah, I'd like to open it up to questions right now. Yeah, I think we have Zach here to help answer technical questions as well.
Yeah, anyone got any questions? Yeah, so I think maybe like a main one would be kind of understanding like where is the data stored, and how is it stored, and kind of like, I don't know, who has access to it, who can update it, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good question. I think Zach can definitely better answer this question.
Sure thing, Reese. Hey everybody, I'm Zach. Been working at Commonwealth for just under 2 years now, helping build out this platform for most of the substrate chains, and now we're starting to integrate governance on Ethereum and Cosmos. So we're really excited to be here with you guys. Actually, a few years ago, I guess the winter of 2017, Matan Field kind of DAO pilled me with DAO Stack. I've been following it ever since. This has been really incredible stuff you guys have been working on. In terms of storing data and what we do, we have our own kind of archive of everything for faster rendering on our site. But almost all the data for like referenda, proposals, treasury, bounties, that kind of information actually comes from the chain. We run nodes and just access the chain directly. And then we render that into our views. In terms of the comments and threads and kind of off-chain identity stuff that we peg to an address, we just keep that on a cached server for kind of enriching the on-chain data. Though
when you say the chain, which chain?
Well, we've been working on, I guess, between different chains. So like in terms of substrate, like we pull data from each of the substrate chains. So like when we were looking at Edgeware there and we saw the bounties, the proposals, all of that was being pulled directly from the chain, from Edgeware in particular.
From Edgeware, yeah.
But we will be running, or we actually are running a couple of like Ethereum nodes and archival nodes, and we'll be showing any information from like DXDAO on Ethereum.
But sorry,
yes.
So if DXDAO were going to use it, you would be you would be putting the information on mainnet Ethereum, or you would still be like allowing access using like Ethereum wallets, but the data would still be on like Edgeware chain or another chain.
No. All the data from DXDAO, if there's on-chain data, we'll be pulling that from on-chain. Otherwise, we'll be keeping most of that off-chain, and we use the Ethereum wallets as the login. But we're working on some features to allow various communities like DXDAO to then maybe pin all of the comments and threads to have that stored on like IPFS or another decentralized solution, and not just on our servers. Gotcha. Right now, things are just being stored on our servers that are off-chain, kind of auxiliary, enhanced chain information.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of existing forum data, we're actually able to migrate all of discourse, all of the existing discourse chats and threads onto Commonwealth. So you'll just have an active active from day one.
Gotcha. What's the timing? Sorry. Well, I was asking as a follow-up. Well, yeah, what's the timing for when like all the additional information, the text and all the proposal information, or all of the juice of the content is not on your centralized versus like on IPFS or Arweave or some like decentralized version? Do you have a timing for that?
Over the next 3 months.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're working on other IPFS integration, namely with Snapshot and other things. So we're kind of, staging out our integration. But we have to, build features for, making sure governance works first, and then slowly, caching and archiving the auxiliary information later.
Nice.
So my question was, will this have any effect with our move to Arbitrum or now being mainly on XDAI? Or is that basically going to be the same thing if everything's going to be working through mainnet Ethereum?
Well, as long as we know what RPC to be kind of like pointed to, or if we need to, run an archival node on XDAI or something, that's not an issue for us.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
We'll match up to whatever node we need to connect to and go from there.
So are you guys planning to add more EVM compatible chains like L2s and sidechains?
Yeah, it's all in our timeline. Right now, we're just trying to make sure, our, base layer Ethereum, everything works. Base layer Substrate, everything works. Base layer Cosmos, everything works. And from there, like, onboard chains and groups of people, like one at a time, until we can figure out a scaling way to do that. Like right now, we're, actually later this week, we're going to launch like a self-serve Substrate chain. So if you have a Substrate chain, you can just add yourself to Commonwealth. A couple weeks ago, we launched a feature allowing any token to launch their own on Ethereum, to kind of mainnet Ethereum in particular, to just launch their own forum. So if you have a token, you can have a token gated community. And so we're kind of expanding that, like step by step, to allow kind of any chain, anything to kind of integrate accordingly.
Yeah, so the DXDAO is using holographic consensus. I think that is not integrated into your governance dashboard. Are there plans to have it integrated?
Yeah, whatever governance situations that different groups are using, we're just adding as modules. We just started with our first partners and are now just like adding more. So if we partner with you guys, we'll fully support holographic consensus.
That's awesome. I saw something on your site about supporting crowdfunding within the threads. Is that built out?
No, that's the kind of internal project we're working on right now. On like part of the team is working out. We're calling it the Common Protocol. We're going to have both kind of Kickstarter like crowdfunding, as well as community-owned vaults that can have beneficiaries as the community or individual developers.
Is that going to be on a specific chain, or?
We're writing it to be EVM compatible, like in Solidity. So the idea is that we can launch on multiple chains for each of the different communities that are built out on EVM compatible chains. Would be the hope. That's kind of our high aspirations at this moment.
And in terms of Commonwealth Protocol's business model, with that, I guess the only funds that we'd be taking is centered around that crowdfunding piece, is where all of the money being moved around through the Kickstarter type crowdfunding, as well as the syndicates vault that Zach mentioned. I believe we'd be taking less than 5% of like any piece of fundraising done or projects funded. So
yeah, we're not really planning on taking fees for a long while. It's just kind of like a conversation, because we're going to be decentralizing these protocols on each of the chains, and then the protocol will decide like the people who own the protocol will decide whether or not there will be fees added to the network.
I was actually going to ask, like, are there plans to further like decentralize the hosting and the operations of Commonwealth itself beyond the IPFS pinning?
Yeah, there's some long, like 2-year plans to do that at this point. We just want to make sure all the different chains and everyone's kind of happy first.
Cool. So the idea be to kind of decentralize it, like everything to the maximal.
That's our like big
extent. Awesome.
You know, make a place where everyone can come and have all of the crypto Reddit conversations, you know, all the different chains, all the governance, everything kind of under one roof, and then figure out a way to really just push that out into the decentralized ecosystem and just like let it exist. Get everyone on the ship and then set sail.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, because we're also building like basically a second iteration governance system. We're currently using DAVStack. We also have, you know, like some sub governance systems that we're working on. Obviously, we just talked with Oracle Protocol here, and then we're also working on a token auction platform as well. So I mean, it would be interesting to see, yeah, to what extent these things could get integrated into Commonwealth.
Yeah, within the next year or so, we're planning on allowing for more projects, you know, like the token auction thing that you just mentioned, to be able to be, you know, added to Commonwealth's like big mega repo, you know, by the community. So it would be a way where, you know, as you build something, you can then integrate it to Commonwealth. Commonwealth as a community can then approve it, and then from there, you know,
it would be kind of an open, like modular approach to integrations, and people could basically come and PR something. Is that
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool. And I think so. I think Martin has a few questions, and I think someone mentioned yesterday that you can import from Discourse. Is that right?
Yeah, that's only an internal tool, but yeah, we can import an entire Discourse forum into Commonwealth to pre-populate old conversations, so everything can continue forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Martin, do you want to like ask?
Yeah, maybe short. Which language is the front end? If you talk about plugins, so everyone can write plugins for it. What's the tech stack there?
Yeah, sure. So the UI that we've been using is called Mithril. It's, you know, like a very pared down React. It has just the life cycles that matter. When loading all the different chains and everything with the front end, we decided to just like cut down our front end frameworks size. That's why we use Mithril. Everyone else has been TypeScript in the front end.
Oh, sorry, 1 second, Martin. I'm going to mute you because I think you have some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're using Mithril as our front end, and then we have, you know, TypeScript for everything else. Our back end right now is just like a Node app, you know, very straight ahead on that front, and then, you know, we're running all the different you know, blockchain nodes. We also have this other, I guess, layer we've not talked about, which is chain notifications, where based on types of interactions on smart contracts and various like layers of governance, we then can dispatch notifications soon to mobile as well for things that are happening on chain. So you don't have to be around, you know, watching the block counts for events to occur. So we're working on this like notifications layer as well for as like governance actions occur. So that and like that is run as its own kind of node that the front end queries periodically.
How are you guys funded right now?
So as an engineer, I really wasn't a part of the original conversations around this. We originally were funded when we launched the lock drop for Edgeware on Ethereum, I guess back in 2018.
That was like the only thing that happened in 2018 or 2019,
yeah.
whatever year it was.
At that point, we were able, because it was like nearly like 2% of all Ethereum was in the lock drop at that point, like actively moving Ethereum. It was kind of crazy. We then like took that opportunity to raise some money into Commonwealth Labs, which is kind of like a sort of like a holding company. It's just like a dev shop that happens to have like worked on building out Edgeware and Commonwealth initially for Edgeware governance. And then we periodically get grants from the Edgeware chain because we're still building out Edgeware, and we use that funding to build out Commonwealth and all the other integrations. We're also in like conversations with like, uni grants, Aave grants, different organizations that give out grants to help fund integrations for kind of generic governance integrations. Like there are a lot of different, Aave clones popping up, a lot of different organizations using the Aave structure or the compound structure as the way they run their DAO. So, get a grant from one of these organizations, generalize it, and then onboard all these communities to Commonwealth. That's kind of how we've been funding ourselves internally. I believe at some point for the dev shop, there was some venture capital funds that came in, and I believe you can read about that on TechCrunch or Crunchbase or whatever that site is. But that was not for Commonwealth, the website, nor was it for Edgeware in particular. It was for just the dev shop building out all of these protocols.
Got it. Yeah, like from our point of view, like of course there are DAOs out there, and I guess everyone is kind of considering building their own governance dashboard. I think you guys built an amazing product, and it's just very important for the DXO that it's not building on top of on sand anymore, because we kind of inherited tools we use which are not maintained anymore by the original creators. So for us, it's like definitely an emergency move to move away from those not well working tools to something where we can strongly contribute on. We would actually think about adding a holographic consensus. Either you guys could work on that, or even from our side, we could put developer resources in and actually making sure that we're building something on top of Commonwealth together.
Wow, that would be the first kind of engagement like that we would have, but that'd be really exciting. I know we'd all be really into that. We were kind of dev shop, servicing all the different governance platforms at this point. But the hope would be at some point like that, something like that could happen for us. It's exciting to see all these governance platforms, show up, come up with some generalized governance interfaces, and then just all go to town on figuring out this Web3 thing.
Yeah, that's super cool. It'd be great to explore collaborating on what we're working on. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if I could think of again next steps, first one would be we can open a Commonwealth DXDAO group. I think we already have one. We can extend it. And then I think maybe the next, we can even get it going and make a proposal, a signal proposal, whether we want to move away from discourse and move our communications into Commonwealth. And get that going as well and start playing with it. And then, further down the line, we can look into integrations, building the holographic consensus sort of governance as a module on Commonwealth and, other things that could make sense. And I really like it, and I like the fact that we're moving away from it's not really central. I guess it is centralized, a centralized conversation forum, and onto something I don't know, a bit more decentralized and a bit more crypto oriented. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, I would say the first step would be kind of just playing around as a community in the Commonwealth forum that we have set up for you guys already. making sure you kind of like it, maybe play around in some other communities, and then figuring out a timeline for kind of adding all of the governance features that you guys want available, either connected to the chain or kind of off-chain, like IPFS related governance as an interim step, if that's something you guys are interested in, or just like figure out how to, as quickly as possible, get holographic consensus working.
Yeah, that's
kind of
awesome.
how I'm the timeline going.
All right, and yeah, so can you share the link to the DXDAO one that you already created, and I guess we can start playing with it.
Yeah, me too. I thought you said there was one. Let me check and see if there is, and if not,
I think there is one. At least I
create
can find DXDAO on Commonwealth.
yeah, here we go. I'll just drop a link in the chat. It should just be commonwealth.im/DXDAO. And at this point, you just need to kind of link an ETH address, and you can begin like having just normal conversations. But from there, we can add all the archival conversations from Discourse and go from there.
Super cool.
Are you also are you actually using Commonwealth in terms of like development priorities? Is there a forum where you guys where anyone can request features and stuff like that?
Yeah, I believe we have a forum called Commonwealth Meta that used to kind of have a lot of early conversations about that, but we could revive that, or I guess you could revive that. We could also jump in again. Most of the features we've been building out are governance related, just purely based on who we're integrating. So right now we're working on Aave integration, so we're just building out all of the Aave features for how that governance system works.
All right, sounds awesome, and I think we have good first steps. We didn't really, do anything else except these two kind of presentations. Kind of out of time. If anyone wants to say anything else, obviously thanks Zach, Reese, and Julia.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we have this recorded, so if you guys want to look back at some of these stuff, feel free. And yeah, I don't know, any last comments from other people?
I think it's worth mentioning that the Swamper beta is live, and the DIY farming is actually getting used on NextDai, and there are proposals up to kick off the DXD WETH campaigns by I think for Friday. So stay tuned.
Nice. So that's that. Any other updates? No, we're good.
Thank you again, everyone.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye.